Hi, this is Shannon, the integrative counselor, and I'm coming here today talking about the importance of self-regulation for co-regulation when you are in connection with others, such as if you're a parent or a grandparent, or a caregiver of others, and in connection with the nervous system, because our nervous systems are constantly in communication with one another, and it's all nonverbal. Well, unless it is verbal and you're hearing it, but that's only a small spectrum of how our nervous systems communicate. So I work with a lot of individuals with trauma, and one of the biggest questions I get all the time is, what can I do for my children? Or what can I do for the other people that are around me? And the number one thing that you can do for them is regulate your nervous system and process and integrate your trauma and work on your stress through the nervous system through body-based processes. So many individuals have gone to traditional therapy and they've done a lot of talk therapy, and they've talked about their childhood or their trauma or difficulty in life. However, they haven't processed, and their nervous system remains dysregulated, and a dysregulated nervous system and a traumatized nervous system looks like a lot of physical and mental health conditions. I'm trained in so many different things, and I love teaching about the nervous system. I'm a nervous system nerd, and I love talking about and teaching people about how the nervous system works. And it really just takes one regulated nervous system to really shift the not only the shared nervous system, but really the energy really of the room. The most peaceful person is the most powerful person, truly. Um, and that's not oftentimes in our inverted and backwards world. A lot of times it's the loudest and scariest person, but that's how systems work that are dysfunctional. And many systems are dysfunctional, including family systems. And contrary to popular belief, our nervous systems can be reshaped. I mean, I am such a walking billboard for that. Going from somebody, I mean, I could barely get through the day, complex trauma, autoimmunity, cancer, physical and health conditions, walking around with a bag of medications, couldn't walk, talk, speak, get through the day, disabled, and now, living my dream, of course, with some accommodations and things like that, because of childhood trauma leads to autoimmunity and cancer and physical and mental health conditions. And there's so much research behind it, and there's a lot of stuff that we can do. And so what was so empowering for me is what I teach you is how the nervous system works. The two things that really changed the game for me is learning about epigenetics, learning that, like, oh, our DNA is in a set state. Yeah, epigenetics loads the gun, and the environment, including trauma, pulls the trigger. Yes, that's true. And that can change and heal. And learning about how our nervous system actually heals, and how our nervous system is connected to all of the other systems in the body. It's part of the psycho, neuro, endocrine, immune system. What I'm talking about, that really long word, is how our brain, our bodies are connected to all of our organs and our immune system, and therefore autoimmunity. I've been diagnosed with several autoimmune conditions that are all maintained naturally, and nearly killed me, as did cancer and all of the things, and my mental health. And in doing these types of things that I'm teaching here today have all been a profound shift. And I have worked with children's and families. I'm a retired youth counselor and working with family systems. And I have been a consultant and worked with schools and systems and at risk youth, and work with the federal government in a lot of initiatives for traumatized youth and their family in a model where not only working with the kid, working with their families. So, and what I've found through all of that work is, when I was working with kids, what I found was, like, working with parents is like giving you, and the caregivers, even school caregivers, gives the best bang for the buck, because if a child's dysregulated, we got to look at the environment of what's going on and what's causing that dysregulation, including the nervous system. And this goes for just how you're showing up in the world. If your relationships, just your friendships are dysfunctional, you are probably engaging in what is toxic? What's a toxic relationship? It's called mutual dysregulation. So there's a lot of things that we can do about it, and I'm gonna not only educate but teach you tips and tricks on here on the World Wide Web, so that you can try them out and see what it works for you. So we never lose the along the lifespan. We need to have co-regulation skills or co-regulating opportunities that are consistent, that are happening consistent most of the time. And primarily, it's who's around your children and the primary caregivers, and then healthcare providers or daycare providers and teachers and extended family, everyone in that child's environment. So our nervous system continues to grow in the first year of life, and the neurons even continue to grow. And a lot of times people are born into chaos and dysfunction, or in memories and trauma can start to be created and passed on, not only intergenerationally through epigenetics, but in the second and third trimester um, of your own birth. And then if the first year, especially in America where there's not a lot of safe childcare, there's not a lot of care for the family. I know in my community it was super hard to even find daycare. It's super expensive, and so there's not a lot of safe options, and we don't have leave a lot of times for family to take that time. People are returning back to work in a couple of days or a couple of weeks because they have to. And there's no shame on what you have to do to survive, but I do want to state how that's impacting your nervous system. So a lot of times people are born and the only option that they have is functional freeze or long-term freeze. And freeze looks like anxiety, depression, is diagnosed with a lot of different things. You're chronically tired, but you have to continue to override and push through. So pushing through patterns feel like I have to, but I can't. It feels like a lot of thoughts and just fatigue. So, and it's diagnosed with all of these different health conditions. So, chronic fatigue, anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, gut stuff, autoimmunity. And then if it's complex trauma, then you can just basically pick anything out of the DSM, any mental health diagnosis, and then how epigenetics play out any physical health diagnosis. And there's so much research on this. And and so children still need along the lifespan a lot of co-regulation, and even in adulthood we still need co-regulation. Like if someone was to someone in your life, like let's say you got in a car accident, you don't just, oh, like that wasn't a big deal, or there's a health diagnosis, or a death in the family, or a job loss, or name anything. Co-regulation exists across the lifespan. If there wasn't consistent co-regulation, meaning someone is attuned, oh, honey, you look tired. Oh, you need a nap. You need water and food. A lot of times a lot of times people's basic needs have been cared for, like food, water, and shelter, but their emotional needs aren't cared for. So someone's not seen as what their true essence is like. And because unmitigated and unprocessed, not only intergenerational trauma, but then the cultural conditioning. Like if you're in a high demand religion that has a lot of rules as to what you can be and show up in the world, so you have to suppress your true essence. A lot of developmental tasks don't get to complete it, but also so your nervous system doesn't get into that regulated state most of the time, which again has this cascade of effects of physical and mental health conditions, but also relational, workplace, just stuff that's happening in your life. And these things can heal. So I use a variety of things between polyvagal, safe and sound protocol to totally rewire it, nervous system rewiring practices like vagus nerve retraining practices, somatic experiencing, internal family systems, neuroscience, energy, shamanism, you name it. I'm a huge nerd when it comes to healing through co-regulating. And so our nervous system gets built with a lot of these procedural memories, which are trauma responses and incomplete self protection responses. And no matter what, we can get curious about the patterns and rewire that. But a lot of times, what people are saying is, well, my family member or this person is dysregulated. and they're dysregulated too. And so what we can do is work on your nervous system, because when you are more regulated, then you become self-regulated. People that have lived in chronic and complex trauma do not have self-regulation skills. They are dysregulated most of the time, whether they know it or not. Look at our world right now. We live in a world, I'm in America currently, and we live in a world that is collectively dysregulated. Look around. It is a mess. What we're seeing online is people's nervous systems are being expressed online. All the comments, and you can tell how where someone's at in their nervous. I mean, I can because I'm trained in that, but you can tell that people are not okay because they are not okay. I wish on the weekends people got together and did nervous system practices, and there was childcare and food, and we returned to the ancient ways of being, and we don't have that. Workplaces are keeping people distracted all day long, even though we've shown that a 32-hour work week is most effective, but yet, oh my gosh, there's so many rules that are changing around then, and I hope you're paying attention because some stuff is going down and it is not good for the nervous system. So hopefully you're paying attention to those things that are happening, and maybe you can't because it's just too much, and you have to focus on your own locus of control, and I get that. And so when we're talking about kids or other people in your life that are dysregulated, you got to work. The only thing you can do is something in your control is work on yourself and your own nervous system. And that can change the tone and the vibe for those that are like, let's vibe high. Well, let's get in the body for one and feel yourself. And because sometimes when people are vibing high, what they're really doing is dissociating. And that's for probably a whole nother informal TED talk in itself. So we have a lot within our control. So go and search about polyvagal or vagus nerve stuff. There's podcasts I'm coming on here and talking about, and we'll continue to talk about that. And there's a lot of tips and tricks and things that you can do, but working on your nervous system, and I can guarantee you're doing some things now that are already working for you. And that's working for other people. So the best thing that you can do is really work on your nervous system and get really curious about that. So many people have gone to therapy and they don't have enough self-regulation skills. Maybe they've gotten grounding skills, but grounding skills are not enough. They're not enough. We have to keep going, and we have to get more curious about, okay, hopefully knowing where your nervous system's at and what you can do about that. I mean, everyone should know that. I wish this was taught in workplaces and schools and everywhere in families, but this information somehow is just, it's just, it's that's why a lot of nerds are on the internet like me trying to teach this stuff, because the world would be in a much more regulated place, and then we would see a lot of different outcomes from this. But right now, folks are not okay because their nervous systems aren't okay, because there's so much unmitigated and unprocessed trauma. So we're just going to do a little practice right now and just notice what you're noticing. My dog is licking me. That's what I'm noticing. And that's happening. So, and just take a look at your environment and noticing something that feels okay to look at. So something that's okay, or a color that you like or that's okay. Or maybe it's a sound that's okay. Maybe it's looking outside at nature. Feeling your feet on the ground, or if you're laying down, feeling what you're making contact with. And you're allowed to move. So maybe your system wants to move. And just noticing, feeling through your body from your head to your shoulders, to your belly, to your hips, to your knees, to your feet. If there's any tightness, just noticing that. Noticing your breath, if that's okay to notice. If not, you don't have to. And if there's a tightness in the body somewhere, just putting a hand there and feeling your hand there. And then placing your hand somewhere else where it's not there. So maybe it's your leg or somewhere else. So putting your attention in the hand where there's less of that feeling, meaning feeling there. Coming back to your feet on the ground or your body laying on whatever is supporting you. And then just noticing. noticing if there was just a slight shift that happened, perhaps inside. Again, when we work together one on one, these practices get way more complex, meaning they get way more into your unique process. And that's very important to personalize the practices for you. But there's a lot of things that are universal to the human experience because we have a human nervous system and we know how it works. I know exactly how it works, and I can help guide you into to how that's going to look. So thanks for watching. I'll see you later.